Pedro, look at this. It's a good segue. This is a good segue today. Let me find this. All right, so the big news in Bitcoin today. This is the main thing that I want to talk about on today's show. Let me take a sip of coffee first. All right, so Pedro says, good morning, 88 sats. Thinking about consolidating UTXOs on Ledger using Sparrow Wallet. Any tips on this? Well, let me introduce this tweet to you first before you go any further. So we had a guy or a girl, but that's it. They said, hey, Ledger, tonight I lost 10 Bitcoin and 1.5 million worth of NFTs stored on my Ledger, Nano S. The Ledger was purchased directly from you. The seed phrase was stored in a secure location, never entered anywhere online. I never signed any malicious transactions. Everything is in my physical possession. I haven't touched the Ledger in 2 months. Can you explain what happened? So before we shit on Ledger too hard here, it's important to note that there is a community note on this. And by the way, these community notes before Elon, they were a joke. But now, like, they are actually helpful, because it says, the community note says, it appears this person signed a phishing transaction 3 years ago, as explained in this post. Also, the Bitcoin wallet address the user claims has been hacked shows 0 transactions, no proof of any lost Bitcoin. So we're going to say yes, that is helpful and easy to understand. Directly addresses the post claims. Submit. I like these community notes because it is very easy for things to get spiraled out of control on things like Twitter. But so there's a couple important things here. First of all, there's a lesson to be learned here. Even though we don't know the full story yet, this is just brand new today. So it's always kind of risky when you're covering things an hour after, or a couple hours after things come out. It's important to get some background, some more information on it. But I still think that there are lessons to be learned from this issue right here. So first of all, I don't know if he actually lost the Bitcoin. It doesn't look like the address that he provided, according to community notes, never had any transactions. So I don't know if that part's legitimate. But if you look at the comments and you look at some of the things that have been shared since then, it does look like they actually lost a lot of NFTs and a lot of stuff in the altcoin world. So basically what I'm going to say here is I'm going to give some tips, because even though we don't know if this story is legitimate or not and what the actual story is on this, we don't know that yet. So forget about this. I'm just going to give you some tips in terms of how you can avoid this yourself. So number one, if your Bitcoin hardware device has ever touched a USB port, I would replace it. Because I don't know enough to know, and I don't know how this happened. I don't know how any of this stuff happens. I'm not a technical guy. I don't know the inner workings of a laptop. I don't know who gets access to it after you purchase it, any of that. I don't know. So I'm just going to stay on the side of caution here. I don't use any devices that have been plugged into USB. All of my devices are air gapped. And the best devices to be air gapped are the Cold Card, the Blockstream Jade, and the Foundation Passport. So if you've had a hardware device with some Bitcoin on it or altcoins and it's ever been plugged into USB, I would just strongly consider getting a new one. Get a new one, start fresh, air gap it, move everything over there, and you'll sleep better at night. And number two here, if your hardware device has any altcoins on it, get a new one, replace it. So if it has a USB port, if it's ever been plugged into a USB, replace it. And if it has any sort of altcoins mixed in there, that allows for a secondary attack vector into that wallet or that device. So get rid of it. The nice thing that you can do, though, let's say that you have a Ledger, let's say that you have a Trezor or a Tangem. I don't know if Tangents plug in or not, but any device that has been plugged into USB, like don't panic. you're probably okay. But the nice thing that you're going to be able to do is just use that wallet as a decoy wallet. So I know it sucks. You wasted some money on it. You spent some time setting it up, but just use that as your decoy wallet going forward. So with the decoy wallet, you keep about 5-10% on there, and then you have 90% of your stack on an air-gapped wallet, Bitcoin only air-gapped wallet. And number 3, this is an important lesson, because if you look at the comments here, it shows that there was a phishing attempt from 3 years ago. So somebody accessed this 3 years ago. That, according to this, again, this could be wrong, but this is still something that very well could happen. So that's why I'm talking about it. So number 3 is, just because the Bitcoin or altcoins are there today, that doesn't mean they're going to be there tomorrow, right? Because keep in mind here, you have to put yourself in the position of a hacker, right? Let's say you have a ledger and you've connected to the USB port, or you've done something you shouldn't have. Maybe you clicked a link that you shouldn't have. You put your seed phrase into a place you shouldn't have. Just because the Bitcoin's still there today, that doesn't mean that nobody's has access to that wallet, right? Because from the hacker's perspective, let's say you're doing a DCA. Every month you send Bitcoin from your exchange to your ledger. And the hacker who has access to this wallet, you don't know they have access to it, but they do. And they see you feeding that with Bitcoin every single month. Do you think that they would move coins out of there and stop the gravy train? Or do you think they would just wait, sit back, wait, and let you keep feeding it? And then one day, just like this guy, and again, I don't know if this is legit, I don't know the full story here, but just like this guy, all of a sudden you wake up one day and everything's gone. So don't assume that just because your Bitcoin is there today, that nobody else has access to that wallet right now. That's what I would say on that. That was my main thing that I wanted to talk about today. So Pedro, to answer your question, I would say don't waste any more time. Honestly, like, I just wouldn't risk it. I don't care how safe people say that Ledger wallets are. I just would not trust it. I don't. There's been too many bad things happen with Ledger. They've tried pushing through updates without telling their users. There's just been too many things happen with Ledger. You have so much at risk here with your Bitcoin to be storing it on a Ledger. So that's what I would say, is just use your Ledger, forget about it, use it as your decoy wallet, get yourself a cold card, a Jade, or a Passport, and put the majority of your Bitcoin on that. You'll sleep much better at night, I promise you. And speaking of that, on that note, if you are somebody with a Ledger, a Trezor, and you're looking for a air gap device, also, I talked to Dale yesterday, and it looks like it was just a glitch on the website here. So this multi-sig bundle is back in stock now, but this is just the Jade. So if you don't want to tap into the multi-sig yet, you can just start with an air-gapped wallet like the Blockstream Jade. So with this, you get the Jade, you get the stamp seed, make sure your seed phrase is on titanium, protected from the elements. And this bundle is a starter kit. It's everything you need to secure your Bitcoin. You don't have to go anywhere else, buy anything else. So $425 Canadian, and if you use the code 88SATS, 88SATS, you get 15% off of that. So it looks like we've been selling quite a few of these by the number of in-stock ones going down. So that is great news. People are air gapping their Bitcoin. And then once again, there's a multi-sig option here too. If you're somebody who has like more than 50 million sats, I would just order one of these. And again, even if you're not going to set it up in the next, even a year, I would still suggest getting this now, getting the devices in your possession across the border or whatever you need to do. And then just start learning about multi-sig, start asking for help from people, and then you have it. Because things like this, and again, this one's $949 Canadian, 15% off of that. So it's about, I think, $550, $600 American. So you get 3 devices, you get the stamp seed, you get some extra plates for each one of your devices. Absolute no-brainer, in my opinion. And so the link to that is right at the very top. It says Bitcoin Starter Kit. It'll take you to the QuickBit website. But the other thing I was going to say on that is, like, with this Ledger news now, I guarantee, even though people won't take the time to actually look at what happened, people with Ledger are going to shit their pants, and they're going to start ordering these. And these hardware devices, there's not like an unlimited supply of them, right? So I wouldn't wait. If you're in a position right now with a Ledger, Trezor, something that plugs into a USB, and that's where your Bitcoin's held, I wouldn't wait. I would just order a device. You'll sleep much better at night. And if you need any help setting it up, you can just reach out to me.